After the devastating Peloponnesian War, the once impregnable Greek city-states presented a sorry spectacle of disunity and exhausted resources. Sparta, though briefly asserting its hegemony, proved incapable of maintaining leadership and quickly sank into a mire of endless internecine strife. Athens, once the brilliant jewel of the Aegean, lay humbled, stripped of its former imperial grandeur. Corinth, Thebes, and other cities desperately vied for power, yet none managed to achieve true dominance. The Hellenic world, despite all its former glory, had become an arena of discord and fragmentation, where each pursued its own selfish interests. Ambition had clouded reason, and the lust for power led to self-destruction. What awaited this world? Would the Hellenes manage to overcome their differences and regain their lost might, or did an even more tragic fate await them? The answer to this question was soon to be revealed. In the shadow of the majestic temples and marble columns of the south lay a land often ignored, or even despised, by the great city-states, Macedon. It was a kingdom of pastoral valleys and hard-working farmers, whose manners seemed simple and customs rough. Although the inhabitants of these lands spoke Greek, their dialect grated on the ears of the refined Athenians, and many considered them merely nominally Greek, barbarians hiding behind a veneer of civilization. They seemed alien to a world of fine arts and high philosophy. Here, no majestic acropolis rose above a dazzling capital, nor was there a bustling agora where philosophers vied in rhetoric. Macedon could boast neither naval traditions, dramatic theater, nor extensive colonies. In truth, it was a harsh frontier kingdom, unstable and often overlooked. Its political structure was primitive, and its cultural achievements modest. And yet, from this unpretentious land, a new power was destined to emerge, a kingdom that would not only unite Hellas but also transform the known world. The rise of this kingdom began not with myth or divine intervention, but with the deeds of one man, Philip II. It was he who was destined to change the course of history and elevate Macedon to the pinnacle of glory. Philip II. For a long time, Macedon had been susceptible to internal upheavals. Succession crises, political assassinations, and incessant external invasions had eroded the kingdom's power for decades. The state was racked by instability. From the northwestern frontiers loomed the threat of the bellicose Illyrians, from the northeast, the Thracian tribes, renowned for their ferocity, and from the south, warring Greek coalitions exerted constant pressure, seeking to expand their influence. Macedon found itself in a vice-like grip. A brief period of ascendancy and prosperity was marked by the reign of King Archelaus, who ruled from 413 to 399 BC. Archelaus took steps to strengthen the country's defenses, initiated road construction, and attracted prominent Greek artists and thinkers to his court in Pella. However, even this short-lived flourishing ended tragically. Archelaus fell victim to a conspiracy, and Macedon was once again plunged back into chaos and internecine strife. The ensuing 40 years were a period of dynastic quarrels, military defeats, and the near-total collapse of Macedonian sovereignty. It was during this grim era, in 382 BC, that Philip, the younger son of King Amyntas III, who was destined to play a pivotal role in history, was born. In his youth, Philip was sent as a hostage to Thebes, where he was under the patronage and close observation of Epaminondas, the distinguished Theban general who had inflicted a crushing defeat on the Spartans at the Battle of Leuctra. For several years, Philip had the opportunity to directly study the Theban military system, tactics, innovative phalanx formation, and the strategic deployment of cavalry in traditional infantry engagements. He observed intently, absorbing knowledge and experience. When he returned to Macedon in 359 BC, the kingdom was once again on the brink of ruin. His brother, King Perdiccas III, had been killed in battle against the Illyrians. The army had been routed, and Macedon was left defenseless against numerous enemies. With the throne vacant and the legitimate heir too young, Philip assumed the duties of regent and never relinquished it. Using either cunning or force, he secured the crown for himself, swiftly eliminating rivals and consolidating his power. What followed was one of the most astonishing transformations in the military history of the ancient world. In the annals of military history, the name of Philip II of Macedon holds a special place, marking a turning point in the development of military art. Philip, a shrewd ruler and strategist, recognized that for Macedon to survive and prosper, it needed a new type of army, capable of meeting the challenges of the era. Outdated militias, comprised of farmers called to service only occasionally, no longer met the demands of the time. He embarked on professionalizing the army, introducing rigorous and continuous training for soldiers, and equipping them with the most modern weaponry and gear. At the core of this revitalized war machine was the Macedonian phalanx, a formidable infantry formation. Phalangites were armed not with the short spears traditional for hoplites, but with sarissas, pikes almost 6 meters long. This significant increase in reach allowed the Macedonian infantry to deal devastating blows to the enemy even before they could close to hand-to-hand combat. Philip refined the tactics of phalanx deployment, arranging them in deeper and denser ranks. This provided not only greater stability in battle but also allowed the phalanx to break through even the most fortified enemy lines. However, Philip understood that the phalanx alone was insufficient for victory. He integrated powerful cavalry into the army, especially the elite companion cavalry, hetairoi, intended for exploiting enemy weaknesses and striking at their flanks. Furthermore, the army included archers and light infantry, providing mobility and support, as well as siege engineers, who constructed powerful machines to dismantle enemy fortifications. This was a true revolution in warfare, and it was merely the beginning of Macedon's triumphant ascent. The first tests for the new army were not long in coming. The Illyrians, who had raided Macedonian lands for many years and even killed Philip's brother, posed a serious threat. Philip exercised caution, first engaging in negotiations and biding his time. However, once his new army was fully prepared, he delivered a crushing blow. The Illyrians suffered a complete defeat, their power was shattered, and Macedon's western border was secured. Philip's gaze then turned eastward. He conquered Paeonia, significantly expanding Macedonian territory and gaining access to new human resources. In 357 BC, he captured Amphipolis, a city renowned for its rich silver mines. This influx of wealth provided a solid financial foundation for Macedon's continued expansion. However, Philip was not limited to military force alone. He was an outstanding diplomat, a master of marriage alliances and political intrigue. He skillfully pitted the Greek city-states against each other, exploiting their long-standing rivalries and dividing his enemies before ultimately conquering them. The path to dominance, how Philip II of Macedon conquered Greece. In the mid-4th century BC, as the Hellenic world was torn by internecine strife, a unique opportunity dawned for Philip II of Macedon. The Third Sacred War, which began as a religious dispute, quickly escalated into a widespread conflict that drew in virtually all major Greek city-states. The Phocians, accused of sacrilege for cultivating sacred lands near Delphi, retaliated by seizing the Delphic oracle and plundering its vast treasury to fund their mercenary armies. Thebes and Thessaly allied against them, but the military campaigns reached a stalemate, yielding no decisive victory for either side. At this moment, Philip emerged onto the political stage, entering the war as an ally of Thessaly, but with far more ambitious plans. In 352 BC, at the Battle of Crocus Field, he led combined Macedonian-Thessalian forces to a decisive victory. Thousands of Phocians fell on the battlefield, and those captured were executed to serve as a stark warning to others. By subduing Phocis and establishing control over strategically vital passes, Philip gained the key to central Greece. Although Athenian intervention temporarily halted his further advance, it became clear to all, Macedon had transformed into a force to be reckoned with. Over the next decade, Philip steadfastly pursued his dual strategy, skillfully combining military might with diplomatic acumen. By 346 BC, the war had concluded, and Philip gained a seat on the Amphictyonic Council, a religious and cultural body that had once scorned Macedon, deeming it a barbarian land. Now, these very barbarians were at the heart of Greek affairs. As Philip's power grew, so did the alarm among the Greek city-states. Athens and Thebes, long-standing rivals, cast aside their past differences to jointly confront the common threat of Macedonian dominance. In 338 BC, their combined forces met Philip's army in battle at Kyrenia in central Greece. The outcome of this engagement would be decisive. The Macedonian phalanx, like an unbreakable wall, crashed into the Athenian ranks, while Philip's son, young Alexander, leading the companion cavalry, delivered a daring and devastating blow to the Athenian right flank. The Theban Sacred Band, an elite unit of warriors, fought with unparalleled courage and bravery, but was encircled and utterly annihilated. Under the might of the Macedonian war machine, the Greek army was crushed and reduced to dust. With the setting sun of that fateful day, Greek independence became a mournful memory of the past. The old world, with its established order and traditions, was irrevocably shattered. At the zenith of his triumph, in 337 BC, Philip convened the League of Corinth, a federation of Greek states where Macedon played the leading role. Although the Greeks were granted the illusion of autonomy, all true power lay in Philip's hands. He announced his grand new plan, an invasion of Persia, the perennial enemy of the Hellenic world, thus challenging the very heart of the ancient empire. However, fate decreed otherwise. In 336 BC, on the eve of the Persian campaign, Philip fell to an assassin's hand in the theater of Aegae. The motives for the crime remain shrouded in mystery, whether it was a personal vendetta or a meticulously planned conspiracy. Despite his tragic death, his mission was accomplished. Macedon, unified and strong, had subjugated Greece, laying a solid foundation for a future empire stretching from the Balkans to the depths of Asia. Philip's legacy outlived him. His son, Alexander the Great, surpassed his father's dreams, conquering Persia, reaching India, and forever altering the course of history. But Alexander's greatness would have been inconceivable without Philip's achievements. It was he who transformed Macedon from a backwater kingdom into the dominant power of the ancient world. He was not merely a king, but an architect of a new era. Macedon, once unknown, soared to the pinnacle of power, leaving an indelible mark on human history.